Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for December 15th, 2023. Hope you all have had an excellent week out there in the financial markets. As always, we've got plenty to cover here in this week's Outlook. And if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on that link in the description below so you can get yourself a live demonstration, learn all the specifics about how this predictive technology based on artificial intelligence and neural networks can help you make much better trading decisions in the marketplace. And so what I want to do is we start out here with the SPY ETF. We can see really since those forecasts came through at the beginning of November, we've had quite the move. But more recently, what we've seen from the VantagePoint predictive forecast, and we'll go over all of this in detail, is the overall trend is up. Our short-term, 2-day predicted neural index has remained bullish, and our predicted high and low ranges are just moving higher each and every day, letting you know that this is a very strong bullish market. So this whole past week, there's been nothing but very, very strong bullish signals from the SPY and the S&P 500 indices. Now, when we look at individual stocks, though, we can get a little bit more volatility, a little bit more of a mixed picture. And this is where this technology comes in and helps traders be much more efficient here, right? So let's go through all of it here with this example in L3 Harris, right? So what we have here with L3 is daily price action, right? Each one of these candles is representing a full and complete trading day. And right up against all that price data, you'll see that there's a black line and a blue line value. Now, the black line that you see there, well, that is a simple moving average. Very common technical indicator. In this case, it's a 10-period simple moving average. And what we understand about traditional technical analysis, which this would certainly qualify as, is all that information that creates that value is lagging, right? It comes from the past. We wait for those closes to come in. You just add all the values together and divide by 10. And so it helps to smooth out the price action, right? Let us know where market prices have already been. But obviously traders want to know where are prices moving next. And so what we're able to do is compare that black line value. You can think of that as a price value and compare that to this proprietary predicted moving average. And for that number to get plotted and calculated on the chart, well, this is where VantagePoint's technology of artificial neural networks come into play. And this is really important, especially right now. We've got big moves in dollar, big moves in certain commodities. And what it's doing is looking at other markets that are known to drive and influence that specific market that you're trading, L3 Harris. Now, this can be big things like the S&P 500 or the dollar index. This can be smaller things like individual stocks, maybe some stocks within the defense sector. Maybe this is groups of ETFs. And this goes all the way down to commodities like gold, silver, copper, wheat, depending on maybe you're an agricultural stock. But it looks at really dozens of markets that are known to drive and influence the future price of this asset. And it uses that information to generate highly accurate predictions. So whenever we see that blue line cross above the black line, it's essentially telling us average prices are expected to move higher. And where this is really helpful is when you have a tool like this, especially with VantagePoint's IntelliScan, that's able to scan through just thousands of opportunities to find the absolute best looking situation. Well, what do we see all through November is tons of stocks turning up, all these signals that say, look, this is the time to go ahead and get involved. And we've seen a lot of markets do really well, about a 17% rally there in shares of L3 Harris. But depending on your trading style, you may want to rely on longer term or shorter term indicators. And this is where we get to things like our predicted neural index. This is a highly accurate 48-hour indicator. It's only looking ahead 2 days at a time and predicting short-term strength or weakness in the market. And what you'll notice here as we go through these subsequent charts is that, look, the overall trend is up, but certainly there will be periods of weakness, especially only spanning 48 hours in an existing uptrend. And so you have that information that says, look for weakness here. Look for cheaper prices. Maybe utilize VantagePoint's other, short-term levels like the predicted lows to get involved over that time period. Again, here you see a little blip in sideways price action, sideways and, a little bit of down. But the point being is the overall trend is up, and all of those weakened signals are just telling you, look, in the next couple of days, if you scoop up some shares, you can get a good price, but also get those updated forecasts from VantagePoint to potentially adjust the position and do what you need to do. So you see here as this market starts to move, you see these excellent entries at the early part of the move. I mean, we're probably going to get about a dozen entries here over the past month where the market has just continued to go higher, really within 48 hours of meeting those predicted low levels. And so if you're dealing with volatility, there's certainly some tools for that as well. It'll help you manage these opportunities and also accumulate a position so you can make a lot more money than maybe the original 100 shares or 200 shares. Maybe you're able to build a large position with a small amount of risk because you're using profits to do that, which is very important. Here's Royal Caribbean. We looked at this a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to update, well, what's been the forecast for the last couple of weeks since? Straight up. I mean, no weakness here. The neural index is bullish. The overall trend and the distance between that predicted moving average and the actual moving average remain strong, and there's a distance there. And then we've got the help of the predicted highs and lows. And so you get these excellent entries to add to your position early on. And then when you come into a week like this, maybe you want to be adding more, taking some profit at the predicted high and taking more money out of this opportunity. So really nice situation there in Royal Caribbean. What's funny was, this was a weak stock in the summer. I mean, this thing got absolutely killed. I was actually shorting some of it. But, now we've got a huge reversal here, right? A 44% move. And of course, that's coming off the declines, right? Is where we see those big advances in the share price, and a really nice opportunity there in Royal Caribbean. Here's Caterpillar, a little bit more recently, things ramping up here, but you see this blue line crossing above the black line. Now, neural index goes bearish here, and you see a little couple days of nothing, but look how quickly over those days the neural index is getting bullish and saying expect subsequent strength. So the trader can say, okay, well, we've got strength in here, we've got Caterpillar. Where do I want to actually buy the market? And you see, if you actually have limit orders waiting at these levels, what's actually going to happen is you get filled at the open and start the advance. Maybe buy some more here, buy some more here, and we get that explosion and really exciting moves happening all over the market. After FOMC, it was like this release valve came off and everything went to where it was planning to go here, right? So about a 14% rally in 11 trading days. Really important opportunities to identify, where those higher magnitude moves are, where there's a lot of distance and a lot of strong signals coming from those predictive indicators. Now, a lot of this stuff started in November. We look at the SPY ETF there, or the futures, if you like. We look at L3 Harris, we look at Royal Caribbean. It's all this move in November. So we've got a lot of stocks that really match that chart. But this is why this is so important, is sometimes these intermarket relationships can start driving new situations and open up some new opportunities in the marketplace. So here's Freeport, copper and gold here. Well, what have we seen out of the copper market? And also what I think's been interesting is the platinum market. Well, certainly these are going to be more important for a market like, a mining company than some of these other stocks that we looked at. But this is also going to be heavily driven by things like the dollar index and what the S&P and what some of those ETF groups are doing. So what you have to understand is it's looking at really dozens of markets that are known to, again, specifically affect this mining stock, heavily driven by metal prices, aluminum prices, the dollar value of the dollar index. And so that's what's going into account and skewing all these indicators to be bullish. And so we get that blue line crossing above the black line. We look at these predicted highs and lows, and you see, again, you just get these excellent levels to say, okay, if you want to accumulate a position, do it down here and really benefit as we see that market move higher and just all across the metal space. Platinum was up 5%, gold is up 2.5%, copper 3%. Everything really started to move, and this is going to be something that's not so much correlated to that S&P 500 that started moving in November and has wrapped up a lot of stocks. Here's Century Aluminum. So again, when you have tools like VantagePoint's IntelliScan, what it's going to do is indicate to you is where these fresh predictive crossovers are occurring. And we can sort this by sector and group and see exactly, hey, where are all these stocks turning up? Well, here it's in the metals. Well, last September, it was just the broad market and a bunch of individual stocks along with that S&P 500. And so you see here just a really nice move, and something may be going on here, not in the metals, but but also even energies. We've seen a lot of things really start to pick up. So you see about a 20% rally in just the past 4 days in Century Aluminum. Again, a lot of stocks in this area that did really well over the past week. Here's Eastman Chemical, which I think is interesting because it turned up in November with the rest of the market. And now we've got a lot of these basic material stocks, oil starting to turn up. These things can do really, really well. But we've seen that since November, well, we've had some really great forecasts that say, okay, well, if you want to be involved specifically in Eastman, where do you want to be accumulating a position on a day-to-day basis? And so what's happening is every single day, these predicted high and low levels are updated. And so what's going to happen is we'll get the actual trading day will fill in, but the predictions won't change. And we'll see how accurate all those levels are. And this is why what we do is go back and say, okay, well, if we knew that, hey, it's time to be long via, the SPY or an individual stock, well, what do we want to be doing? Well, we want to be buying. And where do we want to be buying? Well, ideally, at these predictive levels is going to be quite advantageous. So Again, there's a lot of correlation in these markets, and this is why it's especially important to have a tool like VantagePoint, because when those correlations start to break down, or dollar starts to shift, or the metals or gold start moving higher, or maybe the banking stocks go lower, or whatever it happens to be, it ripples through the entire marketplace. And what you want to do is have a tool that's helping you find the really strongest places to go ahead and set up shop, right? And get exposure to really all this bullishness that we've seen in the equity space. And so you've got plenty of opportunity from November to accumulate a position, trail stops, and potentially make a lot of money here. So we'll go ahead and leave it there. Once again, this has been our hot stocks outlook for December 15th, 2023. It's a great time to go ahead and get ready for the new trading year. So like I said, if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on that link in the description below, get your live demo, and really get set up for success going into 2024 with the right tools and right information. So have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks again, and bye for now.